and welcome to the Metapod Podcast, the Pokemon podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. Sean is doing it with me here on the podcast. I swear, we need to put that on a t-shirt, Sean.
We need to put a lot of things on a t-shirt. And
what else are we putting on t-shirts?
I don't know. Other stuff. I feel like we had an idea a long time ago.
Like, we can't do You Have a Good Deck, because didn't Flex Daddy do that? JW Creewall?
I don't know if he
did.
He did You Have a Good... But he also did one of the memes from PTCG Live. I can't remember...
Yeah, the ketchup one. Whole bottle. I ate a whole bottle of ketchup or something like that.
Yes.
He did that.
He's on top of it. He's on top of that.
He's the meme generator. He's also big on TikTok in terms of, like, making TikTok content, I've noticed, too. Meme stuff, but... We are no memes today. This is 100% serious of the Pokemon TCG podcast. Well, maybe a little bit of jokes, but the European International Championships over in Frankfurt, Germany happened over this past weekend. And even though I drove over almost 1,000 miles in less than 3 days in 3 different states for sports and work, Sean actually got to catch a lot of the championships, I would say. So it's I feel like usually it's I watch a lot of the championships, but
I did my homework
for you. Yeah, thank goodness for you, because man, I have not had time. I did get to watch a little bit. I watched top 4 and then a little bit of top 8 as well. Top 8 was more me listening to it in the car, which you can only get so much from listening to it, but I did actually watch top 4, so I can tell you at least about that. But Sean, how are you doing, by the way? We didn't even do our small talk.
I mean, I could do a little bit of small talk. I'll just
for anybody watching on YouTube and or Spotify, seeing the video version, Sean has a beautiful Astral Radiance booster box showing on camera right now.
And then the ETB.
That ETB looks so good. Oh my gosh.
The ETB is pretty hot. It's not, I don't know, I guess the outer wrap is very not shiny, but I'm interested to see like if the inner has some shiny to it. But
well, how was like the
Brilliant Stars was shiny. One? It was shiny. It was like gold and white. So like, yeah, this one is just not shiny. It doesn't feel shiny on the outside, which I can't remember if Brilliant Stars was more. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Honestly, though, when you have like a gold texture or a color scheme, you kind of got to make it shiny, right? With gold, and like it's kind of hard to follow up a white and gold color combo, but that red and black, though,
it looks good. It looks good. And yeah, for those of you wondering what we're gonna do with these boxes, I'm gonna be sending Jake the ETB, and then we will have videos up on the Metapod YouTube when the embargo date is done.
Lifts.
Yeah, so
when we're allowed to post it.
3 weeks from now or so, but you know, in about 3 weeks or so, you check out the YouTube and you can see us, see if we pull anything good. See if we pull that Darkrai V-Star.
You have probably seen over on social media, if you are on Pokemon TCG social media, a lot of content creators, especially the people that came home from Germany this past week, got their packages from the Pokemon Company International. So the thank you to the Pokemon Company International for sending it to Sean.
I mean,
they didn't send it to me. Sean's just sending it to me. But I appreciate it for Sean, because, well, it's going to be a really cool thing that we're going to be able to get to do on the podcast. So
yeah, I'm
very excited. But Sean, do you want to talk about the meat and potatoes of this podcast?
After the amuse-bouche that is a 5-star review.
I was gonna somehow tie in that the 5-star review was the meat and potatoes.
Oh, I mean, but I use the word amuse-bouche in context, so I mean,
I don't even know what that means.
It's like an aperitif.
Is that just the same thing?
You know, it's like an appetizer type thing. I don't know. Let me look it up. I'm probably slightly wrong.
Are these the mozzarella sticks that I ordered?
I don't even know I don't even know how to spell that. I'm gonna say like amuse-bouche. A bite-sized, it's a bite-sized hors d'oeuvre. That's what it is.
I will say our review is a little bit bigger than that. So it's like it may be one of those things where there's an appetizer deal going on, so you and your buddies go and you buy a bunch of appetizers, and then that is your meal. That might be what this review is. But, Sean, this one is coming from 2007 SIC20Z3. Thanks for leaving us a review. We do read our 5-star reviews on this podcast, but we encourage you to leave whatever review you want to leave, whether it's super high, super low, whatever. Let us know how we're doing on this podcast. This one titled Returning Player for 5 stars. Just started back playing this week, and a friend of mine recommended this cast, and I love it. Well, thank you not only to you for listening, but also your friend.
That's
nice.
Awesome.
Sean, we are being recommended to people. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I feel like we have to live up to the hype now, Jake. I thought it's stressful.
It's got to be a game here on out. We got to top deck the stones at this point. Lots of good info for new and returning players. Thanks for the time and effort you guys put into getting this info out to us. Also, Sean, you sound exactly like Mr. Beast.
Oh, I do? I don't really watch a lot of Mr. Beast, but maybe.
I watched Mr. Beast. I don't watch a lot of Mr. Beast, mostly because I'm real busy. But I did watch his like Squid Game video that he did because, you know, Squid Game was like super trendy at the time. And I've actually never seen Squid Game, but I know all about it just from everybody talking about it. And so I watched that, and it was actually pretty cool video. You know, he recreated it. Obviously, nobody died, but
Can you imagine? I mean, I would hope so. My gosh, YouTuber.
I mean, I thought I would leave that little insert in there, but now that I read that review and I saw that comment, you kind of do sound like Mr. Beast a little bit.
Oh,
I don't know.
All right.
I mean, you are kind of like a papa over here. Like, I mean, you've got some cats, you've got the what's the word that I'm looking for? You got the plug when it comes to Pokemon cards and Digimon cards and Magic cards, and you got it all. You're loaded.
Maybe I am Mr. Beast. Poor man's Mr. Beast. I don't know.
Yeah, poor man's Mr. Beast. Just Mom, I want Mr. Beast. We have Mr. Beast at home.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Anyways, I know what you all are here for because you probably clicked on the title, thumbnail, you saw the podcast ping of the new episode. We're going to be talking about the European International Championships. Now,
yeah,
I will say the winner of the European International Championships, Gustavo Wada. Sean successfully defending his European International title. He won the last one over in 2019 because, 20 and 21, obviously we didn't have it. So very, very cool. Playing Rapid Strike Urshifu Inteleon, Sean. Inteleon? I don't know, but there was a funny tweet that Stefan Ivanov, another really, really legendary player, tweeted out. I don't know if you saw me tweet this, Sean.
No.
But he was mentioning how when the top 8 released, it was basically like 3 groups of people. There was like the USA friend group of Bradner, Picari, like Frank and things like that. There is the Limitless group. You have Tord Ratcliffe, you have Pedro Torres or Sinichi in there. And then he said the third team in that group was Gustavo Iwata. And I was like, Gustavo Iwata is now my favorite Pokemon TCG team because he is just a legendary player. He's been playing for a long, long time. He's been good for a long, long time. You can go back to all the past streams that Pokemon has on like their YouTube channel and watch just bunches of games of him in like top 8, top 4 championships, all that jazz. Very, very good player. But Sean, how do you feel about this top 8 before we get into it? I will say I'll be the first one to say that I was wrong about our future site.
You did.
I was wrong.
Wait. So you were wrong in that there's
I
not
said
a lot of...
Suicune was going to win.
Oh, right. I thought you were saying you were wrong in the, if Decidueye wins, then they can come onto the pod.
So if anybody didn't see, I was feeling spicy on Twitter one day. And like the day before, or like the day of EUIC starting, like the Friday morning or whatever, I tweeted out, I said, if a Decidueye deck wins EUIC, we'll bring a random person that likes this tweet on the pod. And you know what? We're going to do that moving forward with every regional. We'll pick a card and we're going to tweet that every time. We're going to see if somebody ends up coming on the pod.
Okay. I mean, is it always going to be a meme? It's always going to be a meme a little bit, right?
Excuse me. There was a Rowlet. There was a Rowlet that won seniors.
Yeah, there was a
Doesn't
Rowlet.
count, but it was close.
Yeah. But
not a meme. I was 100% legitimate. You could pair Arceus with anything and it can make top 8. I swear.
Suppose. I do love, as a side note, I think it was Max who pointed out, or somebody who pointed out that one of Mew's attacks ignores effects of your opponent's activity.
Yeah, I was like, shh, don't tell them. Don't tell them. Don't tell anybody. Mew players already have enough of an advantage. They don't need to know anymore.
But my thoughts on the top 8, right? Like what this looks like. So, yeah, those of you who can see on YouTube, you can get a preview, but I'll go over it. We have, what's this, 5 Rapid Strike Urshifu decks.
Yeah.
1 Arceus, V-Star deck, and it's paired with Sylveon of all the partners. 1 Mew VMAX and 1 Whimsicott V-Star deck. So I think a lot of people took what Robin did to heart in the last European regionals and was just like, we're going to run with this. It is Rapid Strike Urshi Toolbox all day. And it's interesting. They call it Rapid Strike Urshifu deck, but in reality, like, it's not that specific card. Like, you don't have to play that in a given game. Because, like, I guess you're playing, like, a 2-2 line or a 3-2 line of it, but, like, half the time it's not what you're attacking with. You'll be attacking with Moltres V or Moltres Baby or, whatever. Insert other Pokemon here. So it's a bit of a misnomer to call it a Rapid Strike deck, but I guess that's like the big boy, right? Like that's the, if you're not playing against Mew VMAX, that's your big hitter.
There are a lot in terms of different versions of this deck that you can play, especially Rapid Strike Urshifu. But obviously, Sean, there was only one winner out of all 5 of these Rapid Strike Urshifu decks. So let's go ahead. Let's check out Gustavo Wada in his list, and let's see what's in it. Let's see what's in it, Sean.
Oh, it's almost too big to fit onto a single screen.
I know. You almost have to click Control minus to like zoom out of it. But just as you said, a 2-2 line of Urshifu V and VMAX with some Moltres in there, some of the baby Moltres that we've seen and heard of with the Galarian V Moltres. This is a inclusion that was in it at the beginning when people were messing around with Rapid Strike Urshifu, and even before Mew VMAX came out, I feel like some people were playing the Galarian Moltres because of the E-Switch combo potential with Dire Flame Wings, that ability to draw an energy from the discard and put it on your Galarian Moltres. So plenty of opportunities to get Gmax Rapid Flow combos, but also not just 1, but 2 of the little baby Moltres because, well, it's pretty good attackers. So really, I think, like you were saying, you pick and choose what attackers you use. I mean, I did watch Gustavo Wada's top 4 match, and I mean, he pretty much just used Galarian Moltres. He didn't really need to use Urshifu at all. He used it at times to threaten, to do like some bench sniping and whatnot of some specific targets. But for the most part, just using Galarian Moltres to win in terms of his matches where he needed that dark type advantage, like against the Mew Genesect. So
I will say,
very, very cool.
I will say too, in the finals match against Frank, both of his Urshifu Vs were prized in the first game, and he still won.
Well, granted, I mean, you don't get hit for weakness if your Urshifu Vs are prized. You're never going to start it.
It's true. You're not going to start it, but the idea that, like, this deck really only has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacking Pokemon, really, right? You got the Urshifu V line. I'm counting the line as just 2 Pokemon total.
There's no mustards in this list, sadly.
You got 2 Moltres, that's 4, and 1 Moltres V. And really, you can attack with the Crobat, which did happen. And actually, he did attack with Sobble at one point with the double spin.
Did he really?
It was a wild.
I did not
hear
about that.
It was both players had like a crazy brick to start the game. I think Frank attacked with Bidoof on one turn, and Sobble was getting in a little damage. It was silly, but
that is awesome.
But like really, you've only got 5, and if 2 of your 5 attackers are prized, and you're like, okay, I mean maybe I'll draw it off the prizes, but otherwise, if I don't draw it off the prizes, I just have to say these are my 3 attackers for the game, and I need to recycle them, and like, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but yeah, it's really, really cool to see this deck in action.
The big thing about me is the supporter line. When I first look at this list, I'm like, whoa, that is an intense supporter line. So if for anyone who does not see, because maybe you're on like the Apple Podcasts or whatever, you don't see the video version, this supporter line, I kid you not, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 one-ofs in terms of supporters. Clara, which is an inclusion that if you have Baby Moltres, we've seen that time and time again. Those are 2 peas in a pod, in my opinion, those 2 Pokemon. We have Raihan, which we've seen in a lot of decks, especially with Rapid Strike Urshifu, because, well, it's a very easy way to get a Gmax Rapid Flow off. We have Cheryl, which doesn't surprise me, that at the beginning was paired with Rapid Strike Urshifu. I believe Pedro Torres was doing that a lot in the beginning of Rapid Strike Urshifu and the mix with like Moltres and stuff. You have 1 Boss's Orders, because everybody plays Boss's Orders. But there's some interesting other inclusions in here, Sean. We have 1 Piers.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good in this deck. You can go grab an energy and a darkness type Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. And the energy is an energy card, so it doesn't even mean just a darkness energy. You can grab the Rapid Strike energy if you want.
So there's actually 2 cards in the deck that can directly grab Rapid Strike energy in Raihan and Piers.
And so that's why if you're looking at this, or maybe you've seen the list, there's no Octillery. One of the kind of unusual to see Urshifu list not play that Octillery, but they also have in here Sonia. Sonia, Sean, has seen a little bit of expanded with the Rowlet and Alolan Executor deck. I love that deck. If you do not know, it allows you to grab either 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energies from your deck. You choose one or the other. You can't choose both or a combination of the 2. So that provides you a little bit of flexibility as well. If you have the Quick Ball for the Moltres or something like that, or you have the Moltres in hand, you can go grab 2 energies. You can grab an energy attachment on your little Sobble for Keep Calling, or maybe your Urshifu to, Strafe or Gale Thrust or whatever. Lots of different combinations for that. But also, Sean, there are more Avery in this list than research. There's a 2 of Avery and 1 research.
Yeah.
That is kind of the biggest surprise, in my opinion, Sean.
It's definitely weird. And Avery tended, at least in the games that I watched, there was a lot of instances where Avery got played and the only effect was draw 3. So it's like they're playing Avery like Hop, but like, it's interesting because a lot of decks fill up their bench, especially with these support Pokemon. So if you think Mew VMAX, you're going to have 1 Mew VMAX. If you're, playing it well, you either have a Meloetta or another Mew VMAX, and then the rest of your bench is your Genesect engine. So you play that Avery, and then you and your opponent have to bench, discard your bench until you only have 3. It is a good way. Does it make you and your opponent? Let me check real quick. Your opponent. Okay, only your opponent. But yeah, like the nice thing about it, you can shut off a bit of the Genesect engine. You can also, against any Arceus Inteleon decks, which I'm sure he expects to see a lot of those. Yeah, like you got to make them choose. Are you going to get rid of a couple of your Inteleon lines, right? It can be super awkward. So it does. It's weird, unexpected, I think. But when you actually think about the meta, you're like, oh, I guess that does kind of make sense to have 2 of those.
I think it also makes a lot of sense in terms of your Rapid Strike Malamar matchup because, you know, Rapid Strike Malamar likes to have a full bench. You know, you have multiple Inteleons. You have to have a backup Inkay to go into the active next turn. You have an Octillery. Octillery is huge in the deck, in my opinion. So, I mean, Avery defeats that. And if you could use it to work well against just Mew and Rapid Strike Malamar, like, you're probably getting a solid chunk of the meta taken out of the way. And you play something like Palpad in this list as well, easily searchable with the Shady Dealings engine, as always, because Shady Dealings, Sean, we've talked about it again and again, just a stupid good archetype.
It is. And it was interesting. If you actually think about the finals, which we'll talk about Frank's deck after this one, but I think it's the two engines that are going to come to define two formats, right? You have the Inteleon engine, which defined all of Sword and Shield base format, which is like Sword and Shield base until when it rotates in the fall. And then you have the Bibarel, which just came out with Brilliant Stars, and that is going to define effectively the next 2 years, I think, in terms of the engine. Now, it's not as good. I'm going to be frank with you. The Inteleon engine is better because it lets you go get any item or any trainer, and like, yeah, okay, that's kind of unbeatable because that is why you can play so many one-ofs, is because you could just go grab them whenever you need it. But it was interesting to see those two engines sort of pit against each other. Kind of two decks from different times in the format almost. Like one was made, one was like released, you know, midway through, and then one is like new to the format. And so you're sort of seeing them compete against each other.
I think it's just honestly like good game design as well from Pokemon. I mean, you've heard me say time and time again that 3 prize Pokemon are not great. You know, Rapid Strike Urshifu, 3 prize Pokemon. But the fact of the matter of having these two archetypes be around, you know, these two different engines, you know, the Shady Dealings engine being one viable way to build your deck, and the Bibarel engine having another one on top of that as well, being a good way to build decks is like very, very cool in my opinion. It adds a little bit of variety. You know, we're not seeing every single deck play the Shady Dealings, you know, carry. And you've also got things like the Mew engine as well. I mean, that's a little bit more restricted to one archetype, you know, with
Mew, that's it.
With Mew, you know, but it's that same concept of like, you can have that variety and you don't see the same card, the same Pokemon in every single deck, which I think is really, really cool, Sean.
Yeah, it's a great partner. So it's a cool deck, man. Like I look at it, the rest of the deck is pretty straightforward. The only cards that you might see in this kind of deck that you won't see very often otherwise is like Energy Switch, Energy Retrieval, Palpad, you know, like being able to run a few of these cards at a one-of, because you may only be running one Cheryl, but maybe there's a specific match where you need a second, or you need a second boss, or whatever it might be. Palpad is huge. You can Shady Dealings, grab a Palpad, shuffle the, you know, what the supporter that you need back in, and then on a different one, Shady Dealings with Inteleon, go grab that supporter and something else, and boom, good to go.
I think Energy Retrieval actually makes a ton of sense, and I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that we haven't seen Energy Retrieval a lot more with Galarian Moltres. I feel like a lot of times we've seen like Galarian Moltres paired up with Training Court, you know, the stadium that allows you to grab an energy from the discard pile once per turn. But Energy Retrieval, you don't have to worry about the stadiums. You can play like your Tower of Waters, for example, in this list.
Yeah.
And you can just grab 2 energies from the discard pile. So I think it's really, really cool that we've seen that.
Yeah, you're right. It's an interesting, like, because the one card, I don't believe, no, maybe you can. Yeah, you can search stadiums with Shady Dealing, right? Yeah.
Because this is a trainer card.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I think their thought process is you have the Training Court and then you grab an energy search, and that's 2 energy. But once you sort of run low on energy, the ability to grab 2 from the discard with 1 card is a big deal. But then Clara kind of does the same thing. It's weird. It's all weird, man.
Yeah, but then you could, I mean, with the energy retrieval, I mean, you're playing multiple Galarian Moltres in your list. So a lot of times, that's all you need. So you don't need necessarily the Pokemon recovery as much as you maybe need the energy recovery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it allows you to play the energy retrieval, but also play something like a Raihan, a Boss's Orders, a Sonya to go get the Moltres out of your deck or something like that. So it provides a lot more flexibility, like with your supporters, Yeah. That's just what I've kind of thought. And it's such a nice list. I mean, Urshifu's, I mean, I think they're still cheap. I don't know. They've won, they've been a huge influence the last like 2 European regionals, but Urshifu VMAX Rapid Strike has had several different prints of the card. So yeah, $2.52 for the regular art as of right now on TCG Player. The trainer gallery one from Brilliant Star, Sean, only $11.50 honestly per, which is not a bad deal. I mean, in my opinion,
I guess the ultimate, like the highest rarity is the alternate art version.
Yeah, that's like $55.50.
Which is still
it's a little bit out of my range.
I mean, yeah, it's out of you. But like, if you really want to bling out a deck, it only plays 2 of them, right? So like, it's not like blinging out Mew VMAX or something like that, right? It's a little cheaper.
The black and gold one, Sean, a little less than $4.
The black and gold is only $4?
Yeah. I mean, that was another trainer gallery one.
That's weird. I mean, I get it a little bit. It's less pretty than the other alternate arts, but
I mean, they're not going to be around too much longer, probably. Well, are they? Are they going to be around?
They should be around for an extra year, right? Because it will go. The rotation, I'm guessing, it hasn't been announced yet. For those listening who think that we know, technically rotation, I don't think has been announced, but I think it will rotate D block. And
so we'll still have E.
I think, we'll still have E block.
Because Urshifu is still in an E block.
Yeah, because it came out a year after the original set came out. It was like the following year's gimmick was Battle Styles, right?
Yeah, well then go buy your Urshifus. Now's the time.
Now, but
they're winning.
I mean, they're winning, but you lose the Inteleon engine, and maybe that's the thing.
You can still play Urshifu for May regionals if you have like your Inteleons and stuff.
Exactly, right. So, yeah, you still got a few months left with it. I mean, don't stress about it. If you just want to play the deck, the regular deck is super cheap. Super cheap.
Oh yeah.
So,
Whimsicott as well, though, Sean.
Yeah.
Whimsicott is also a cheap card. Let me look up Whimsicott V-Star real quick while you pull up the list. Whimsicott V-Star, $5.50.
Is it only $5.50? Because it's saying 14.
That is what. Well, TCG Player says the market price is about $5.50. You can get it for $6.
Oh, nice. Well, there we go. Then yeah, I would say. Whimsicott, also a very nice budget V-Star build.
Mm-hmm. And Sean, let's look at that budget V-Star build. It's got Bibarel. We were just talking about it. Bibarel, very cool Pokemon. I like Bibarel decks. I'll be honest. I don't think on this podcast someone could fact check me and listen to way back when we first talked about this card. I'm pretty sure I wasn't like super hype on this card.
In terms of Bibarel, like I think our thought at the time was that Inteleon engine is just superior to this, which I still think is true. And I think we also compared it a bit to like Cinccino. And yes, Cinccino sees play in certain archetypes and in certain decks. It's not bad, but it's not as widespread as like Inteleon, right? I don't know if post-rotation Bibarel becomes much more played, or if it kind of just becomes a slightly better Cinccino, if that makes sense.
I think as long as you have stuff like Quick Ball and Ultra Ball in the format.
Well, we won't have Quick Ball.
Is Quick Ball only been printed as D? It hasn't been printed as E yet?
I believe so, yeah. It's a D.
Oh.
Now, I will say this, they are going to reprint some sort of Pokemon search, because technically when rotation happens we will lose both Quick Ball and Evolution Incense. So there needs to be a basic search that doesn't require you to discard 2 cards. So
we just don't know what it is yet.
We don't know what it is. That's true. That's true. But I'd be surprised if they give you more discard fodder. So it'll probably be some other thing.
But, well, I mean, it would still be like some sort of burnable card.
Yeah, it's so a single card you can get rid of, which is not
bad. Like how Fog Crystal, you know, you can, in like Evolution Incense, you can use it and you don't have to grab anything, you know? Like, it's just a card that goes away in your hand. But this list, Frank Persik's Whimsicott V-Star lists a 4-3 line of Whimsicott, 3-2 line of Bibarel, and a Crobat, because he got a draw. I feel like Crobat's been getting a lot more play lately, and not because of the Crobat VMAX.
No, I think, yeah, people are like, okay, and they're even playing 3 Path to the Peak, Frank is in this list, but, you know, sometimes you just really want to draw. This deck really needs to find its double turbo energy, and that is ultimately what did Frank in game 2 of the finals match. Is he only ever found 1 double turbo in the second match, I think, and he needed it again, and he just whiffed it another turn. It was just bad. He had some rough luck.
If you're wondering what Whimsicott V-Star does, I've always liked this card. I've always liked this deck. I was very excited that Frank did well with this because I didn't think it could repeat like it did in Sao Paulo. But anyways, it's got the attack Trick Wind 160, Psychic, colorless, 3 energy total. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any Pokemon tool or special energy cards from their hand. And then their V-Star power, the attack / ability, whatever, that they can only use once per game. 1 Psychic Energy Fluffball Star. This attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to this Pokemon.
Yeah.
What was the biggest Fluffball Star total that you saw in the finals, if you can remember?
In the finals, there wasn't. I don't remember.
Did he ever use it for like 3 with the turbo?
I don't think so. I think he used it for 1 once just to kill a Sobble, but Frank had a really rough time. He had a really rough go of it in that round. Like, super brick in the first game, weird hands in the second. Yeah, it was not Frank's round. But
I feel like you would mostly use Fluffball Star because you're either doing 180 to benched Pokemon with the double turbo, because that doesn't affect your bench total, right?
And the nice thing here is,
or maybe it does actually. So it would be 160.
Yeah, I think you're doing 1.
You would only be doing 160 because you're not playing like a choice belt or whatever that. What is that card again?
Choice belt.
Choice band.
Choice belt.
Choice belt. But I think it's mostly used to like KO Sobbles.
Yeah, you can. That's
like
what he
early
did.
Game. Just take a quick prize early game.
And if you snipe a Sobble off, this is what Frank did in the early game of 1. It's like, hey, I'm gonna make it so you can't just get this loop every time. So all you have left is 1 Drizzile or 2 Drizzile. So you won't be able to, scoop up net and then get a Drizzile Evo and a Shady Dealings Evo all in the same turn, right? So, yeah.
But this list as well, Sean, Frank's list, it also plays Avery.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Who would have thought that we would have seen Averys in the finals and both decks having multiple Averys, Sean? What year is this? Where are we?
Well, it's funny. I think when they announced Avery, right, a lot of our initial thoughts were like, I think some people, I think myself a little bit, was a little bit sad that Balelba and Bryson Man got banned. Because at the time, they printed it, and it was clearly designed to be partially an Eternatus VMAX counter, right? Because Eternatus wants to fill up their bench and then do a bunch of damage. And if you're forcing them to discard their bench and they have to build it back up again on the following turn, it gets annoying. It's difficult.
Especially if you don't have Pokemon recovery, like Eternatus VMAX usually doesn't have a lot of Pokemon recovery.
Exactly. So, I think Avery was printed because they knew they needed some mechanic like that. But at the time, like draw 3, your opponent discards bench till they have 3. Other than Eternatus VMAX, you're kind of sitting there like, well, shoot, my opponent might be able to discard like trash, like Pokemon with damage counters on it. I don't want that. But in reality, like most things now, like half these decks now are either doing a 2-hit or a 1-hit KO, and they have all these support Pokemon on their bench. And yeah, I think you're seeing like it's a strong card, which it does not look that way.
It's very interesting. Get your full art Avery's now while you can. But my favorite inclusion, I guess I have two favorite inclusions outside of the Whimsicott itself, you know, because I just love the Whimsicott. But my two favorite things in this list are the one Peony in here, which actually Peony as a supporter, it makes sense in this deck, in my personal opinion. If you don't know what Peony is, maybe it's been a while since you looked at the Chilling Reign set list because, well, Mew only played it for a little bit before it dropped it. Discard your hand and search for your deck for up to 2 trainer cards, reveal them, and put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. We were talking about earlier with this Whimsicott deck, different ways to discard your hand to draw more with Bibarel. You know, Ultra Ball and Quick Ball, and maybe some burnable cards like Crushing Hammer, Fog Crystal, Evolution Incense, stuff like that. Peony is an incredible way to get rid of your hand because you just dump it.
And I think Frank, there was one turn where Frank, he had 3 cards in hand. It was like a Research, a Peony, and something else, right? Something random. And I think it was 3 supporters, actually. So it was those 2 and another supporter. And he chose to use the Peony instead of Research. And this actually makes a lot of sense because he had the Bibarel on the bench. And on the surface, you think to yourself, oh, well, if you discard your hand and you get 2 cards and you can use them, then you can do the Bibarel and it draws 5 more. So that's a 7-card draw, which is exactly like a Research, except you just
you get to find 2 specific things that you want, which Research is just random what comes up.
But if you actually think about it, the way that you can play this, he played it where he grabbed a Evolution Incense, and I think he grabbed like a double turbo with that or something. And so he was able to. It's actually your drawing.
No, he has to get a trainer card.
Oh, okay. He grabbed 2. Maybe I think it was a Fog Crystal then. He grabbed a Fog Crystal and a Evolution Incense. So it was actually drawing him 9 cards because those 2 cards you play, you get 2 more cards out of your deck that you can use right away. It was like, it's crazy. Like and everyone was like, huh, that's interesting. And, you know, obviously Frank understands how this interaction works, but I think that might be a bit of a broken combo that pushes Bibarel, when you actually start to think about it, over the top to being like, huh, I can basically get a shady dealings with my supporter and then draw 5.
I think it's a really, really cool combo that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of, you know, whether that's, you know, Gengar decks, you know, that play the Bibarel, whether that's Arceus decks playing the Bibarel, like all of these different Bibarel decks that have started popping up within the last like 2 months, month and a half.
Darkrai V-Star.
We're not there yet, though.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, it'll be there soon. Darkrai V-Star.
We're gonna open it. Our opening.
Yeah,
in our future opening that we're gonna do.
But I'm saying, ditch your energy. Ditch your energy.
Is it May 13th?
Yeah. Ditch your energy. Grab 2 Dark Patches. Accelerate, and then draw 5. Bruh.
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. I will say in Frank Persick's list, there are the very interesting choices of 4 Crushing Hammer and 3 Fan of Waves. But when you look at it, in my opinion, I think it actually kind of makes sense because you see this a lot of times, the Crushing Hammer and the Fan of Waves, with things with like lone Pokemon, not a lot of bench. So I'm talking like Victini VMAX is the first thing that comes to mind. You know, a deck that didn't really play much outside of the attacking Pokemon. You know, Dragapult VMAX also had a version of that. But when you look at Whimsicott, it does a base 160, and your double turbo energies that you're adding makes it 140 in terms of the damage. Whimsicott naturally makes the game a little bit slower for you and your opponent because, well, Trick Wind is stopping your opponent from using tool cards, special energy cards. What's the other thing? Stadiums?
It's just tools. It's just tools. And
oh, it's just
energy.
tools and special energy. Yeah. So I mean, and look at the format right now. We just looked at a Rapid Strike Urshifu list playing Rapid Strike energies. We all know that Mew VMAX is really, really good with the fusion energies, and tool cards also play a lot of influence. So I mean, I guess you're okay with not really two-shotting certain Pokemon like Mew VMAX.
The only thing, it doesn't stop special energy if they don't come from the hand. So Eliza Sparkle still works, but there's only so many of those in the deck. And yeah, if you can put that, if you can loop that for a turn or two with Fan of Waves or Hammers and have a path to the peak out, the odds that they then draw into another Eliza Sparkle, right? Like it does have the opportunity to be like, oh, I don't know if you're going to have enough resources for this one.
It's very, very cool. There's also 2 research in here, 3 Marnies. Marnie, also very, very good. We talk about Frank kind of disrupting their opponents with the trick win, and then now you have a Marnie on top of that to limit draw, reset hands, things like that. So, I mean, this is really, really cool. The other card, which I haven't even mentioned yet, that I really, really like in here because we were on such a high note with Peony, is the 2 EXP Share.
Yeah,
John, what is EXP Share for anyone who doesn't know?
So EXP Share is a card that lets you move an energy from your active Pokemon when it is knocked out to the Pokemon that this tool is attached to. It's a basic energy only, so you can't move your double turbos, but it's the perfect card to chain Whimsicott V-Star attackers. Obviously, they're giving up 2 prizes, so having more than 2 in the deck, unless you really want to see them, mathematically does not matter because you're like, if those get knocked out more than 2, you've already lost. But yeah, like the idea here is you get a Trick Wind powered up with a double turbo and a Psychic. Your V-Star gets knocked out. You just move the Psychic to the one in the back. You attach a double turbo and you're ready to do it all over again the next turn.
And guess what, Sean? Peony can find your EXP shares. Who needs shady dealings?
Yeah.
To chain these attackers when you can have Peony? It all comes full circle, in my opinion. Very, very cool list, Sean. Yeah. I really, really like it. If only I had Whimsicotts.
I will say I'll be interested to see if the Peony engine, because of the potential. Now, you can't grab your double turbos, but I don't know. I wonder if that gets a bit more used over time when people really see the power of that engine.
I don't know if you ever try 2 peonies though. I mean, I guess you could try and figure it out. I don't know. Maybe drop the tool scrapper or something. That's one of the only things, maybe a Fan of Waves or something. I don't really know. But anyways, there comes to a point where you don't want to discard a lot of times in your hand. So if you try to multiple peonies in a game, you're going to be discarding a lot of resources, a lot of valuable resources, especially when you're trying to extend a game for a long time. So
that's true.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Crushing Hammers, you're probably okay with getting rid of. You're probably all right with the Fan of Waves. Maybe at a certain point, the Quick Balls as well and things like that. But there's a lot of valuable resources in this list, I feel like.
There are, but I think about Professor's research too, right? Which I'm like, it's the same thing. You discard your hand and draw 7.
Yeah, it's still really, really good. I mean, it has a little bit different of a function, but Peony, still really good.
Peony, discard your hand, get 2, and if you all you need is to have a Bibarel, it's effectively discard, draw 7 at minimum, for the most part, almost. So it's I don't know. I think I prefer it over research because it's the same effect, kind of.
I will say, though, with research, so there's a lot of things that you could probably do prior to using the research. So what I'm saying by that is, you can burn a Quick Ball. You can, grab an energy off the Fog Crystal. You throw the Crushing Hammer out there. So then you can draw with Bibarel a couple cards before you go ahead and do your research. So although you're surpassing that 7 like we talked about with Peony that you could do, you could maybe get 9, 10 in total in that turn, which I understand the value at that point, and I'm not smart enough to know which is mathematically more valuable. I haven't done the testing myself. I've been busy trying to do my full-time job, but as someone who watches the game, as kind of knows the game, I mean, I like to think I know the game a little bit. I can see both ways. I can see how you would love peony and want more peony instead of research, but I do think the research has a ton of value.
No.
Like this.
I think you're absolutely right. I think multiple peonies is certainly greedy. It's a very greedy way to play
that's a great way to put it. It's greedy. It's but I think it's worth trying. I think it's worth trying to put 2 peonies in this list. I think it works well with Bibberol decks.
Yeah. Okay, Jake. I'm looking at the time right now. I think we've covered this one thoroughly. There's one more deck I want to talk about a little bit, and that is your boo, Sander Wojcik.
My man.
We got Sander's deck here. You can't see the whole list because Jake's face is covering up part of it, but you can mostly see it. Now, Jake, I don't know how much time you've spent perusing Sander's list, thinking about how it all works, but
I'm going to be honest. I saw a screenshot of his like stream match, and I was like, that is Sander playing an Umbreon VMAX with a capture energy with a Moon and Sun badge and a little baby Eevee on the bench. I was like, I don't know what's happening at this point. So Sean, I need you this time to walk me through this deck.
So this deck, it is not quite a control deck, because I know that's what Sander usually plays. But in reality, it is a loop stall deck where there is a combo, and I'm sure there's ways. There's 2 cards I want to look up. Jake, if you could look up Moon and Sun and Shopping Center.
I know Shopping Center because my friend Mr. Darthbean played it in the one of the 1K events that's happening. Shopping Center is a stadium where once per turn for each player, the player may put a Pokemon tool card attached to one of their Pokemon into their hand, and then the Sun and Moon badge as well, or I think it's Moon and Sun badge, not Sun and Moon. That's the Pokemon games that you may have played. It is a tool card. If this Pokemon V this card is attached to is Espeon or Umbreon in its name, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from your hand, prevent all effects of that card done to that Pokemon. So reading that boss's orders, is that pretty much it?
I guess it would also stop Avery.
I guess it would stop Avery, which is
It would, but you would have to discard the other Pokemon instead. You can't be forced.
You just couldn't. Okay, interesting.
But I mean, it digressed a little bit. But so the way that this deck works, the loop that you mostly want to get into, one, you have the Eevee and Jolteon. For those of you who don't know, Jolteon is one of those evolutions that, it turns off the abilities of non-rule box Pokemon, so single prizers. And you have those there to stop the Inteleon engine, because Jolteon turns off water Pokemon abilities, which is the only way to turn off single prize Pokemon abilities. So
it's the only way to turn off shady dealings.
Yes. So the goal with that one is try to get into it early game if you know you're playing against an Inteleon engine to slow them down. Do you have to have
a memory capsule attached to it?
I think so. Something like that. Yeah. So they have a memory capsule in there as well. But the other Pokemon that slows...
Yeah, you have to have the memory capsule.
The other Pokemon that slows your opponent down is Yveltal, which can get rid of special energy on the board.
We talked about that card. We talked about that card after Germany Regionals. Double colorless attachment. Get rid of up to 3 special energy cards on the field.
But the main way that this loop works, Jake, is you get your Umbreon, you kind of, you use its ability to stall your opponent out, bring things into the active. Not a lot of people are playing a lot of switching cards right now, so that's helpful. And then the way that he looped it is you have, at least in the match that I saw, you had Umbreon V, you have, he had 2 of them on the bench at one point. You have Eldegoss, which can shuffle itself back into the deck with the double turbo. And then you have things like Birdkeeper and Cheryl. Cheryl, you only have to do Cheryl every other turn, and then you can play Birdkeeper to switch out one of the Umbreon VMAXs that got damaged the turn before. And because they're not bossable, and because it's very unlikely that something's going to knock it out in one hit in the late game, you just kind of go, you hit this one, I Birdkeeper it out, and I draw. I play the, Eldegoss. I retreat, Air Balloon. You put an Air Balloon on one of them, you retreat it, shuffle the Eldegoss back in, and then send the one up that doesn't have damage. Following turn, you draw the Eldegoss, play it, grab the Cheryl, heal off all the damage, and then you literally just loop that. And then the following turn, double turbo into the Eldegoss, put it back in the deck, and then you draw, grab the Birdkeeper, and it's just, you literally loop in the late game.
I need to watch the match. I need to go on Pokemon's website, or I don't know if Azul posted the video with his advice, but either way, I need to watch that because I felt pretty big brained after the last European regionals explaining it to you, and I had it down. But even though this is kind of the same with the Birdkeeper, the Eldegoss loop with double turbo, it's a little bit more complex, and it's got your gal Roseanne's backup in this list, Sean. I see
it does, because you might need to recycle the shopping center, you might need to recycle other stuff, the Towers of Darkness. It's weird. I think you can also recycle your double turbo energies, which is really important for the Eldegoss loop. So, look, I obviously, it can be beaten. I think the reason you're playing Jolteons and some of these other cards, like Yveltal and Snorlax, is so you try to slow the game down so that you can get into that loop. But if your opponent can just set up and, railroad through all these Pokemon, they can beat it. But, it was wild to see this played. I am not going to play this deck personally. This is not how my brain works. But
I want to try it. I mean, I'm a little busy right now, but I would love to at least try it. I would love just one day, I don't know, just go to a locals or something, and all of a sudden this is my fever dream, not fever dream, because that's something that happens in real life that doesn't feel real. This is my dream, is to just go to a locals one day and Sanders there and he just teaches me how to play this wild, obscure control stall deck, and that's pretty much what I do at locals. That is the dream. I would love to try that, but I mean, I think it's cool. I'm always excited to see Sanderless, because I think Sander is a very innovative deck builder. He's still got 39th overall at the European International Regionals. So although, he's not in the top 8 or whatever, that doesn't mean that the list is bad. We talk about these different people like Frank Persic. We talk about Sander Wachik, Gustavo as well, just playing these obscure archetypes. And we didn't even talk about Tai Wen. Is that how you say their name?
Probably.
The person playing Sylveon Arceus. They got 6th place overall. Even though the Sylveon was just a 2-1 line, and it was basically Arceus or Arceus Rapid Strike Toolbox.
Yeah.
It's still such a cool thing that people, weren't playing before. Also, one of the first lists I've seen that plays 3 battle VIP passes and not 4.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know how often they'll see it in their opening hands, so they don't want to have too many clunky cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
very,
weird.
Very cool.
But yeah,
I thought the regionals was awesome. I'm just so happy about all the different people, Sean, that just talk about, just loving being back in Pokemon. I did see some negative things on the VGC side, but there's just so much positive.
Yeah.
in the TCG side. And again, you know, you're influenced by the people around you, you know, Sean. So if you're around positive people, you're going to have a positive time. And like the Pokemon card game, be who you want your kids or whatever to be playing with. But top 32, a lot more Urshifu than we thought, Sean. I think we could both agree that we were wrong. Yeah. Insert buzzer noise.
I mean, I just thought, you know, I saw how well Robin did, and like obviously Robin won the regional, so it's like it's possible. This is a good deck, but I also was like, okay, people have seen it now, right? Like they might know what to expect, but you know, despite the consistency of a lot of these other decks, didn't matter. You know, it's just like the consistency and power didn't matter if you can find the right cards. It doesn't matter if you have the best cards. Does that make sense?
Also, Beedrill got 9th.
Hey!
Beedrill decks, baby! Just a fun card to play. I don't know which I like more, B-Barrel or Beedrill.
I mean, I'm on Team Bibarel, but, you know, that's just me.
That's very interesting. We got a lot of things cooked up here on the Metapod podcast, including some extra episodes coming your way on the YouTube, exclusively on the YouTube, including some Astral Radiance openings before the set releases. Sean's got the hookup, and we've got the hookup on your Pokemon TCG news that revolves around the evolving meta. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of the day.